Oh hi, my name's Amy Griffiths and I'm one of the journalists in Manx Radio's newsroom. And I've been speaking to Joanne Hill. She's a blue badge holder, but she's been questioning some of the policies related to the badge, especially around the length of time that you can park in a disabled bay for.
Several years ago, I asked for clarification with regards to the times for parking in disabled spaces in disc zones. And the traffic warden told me that if you were parked in a disabled parking area, for example, in Chester Street, where it's just disabled parking, you got the time that was displayed on the sign. However, if you were parked in a disabled space within a parking area, for instance, the promenade, you got double the time. This is what I've been doing for years, never had a problem, never had a ticket, never been advised as anything different. So on Saturday, I did what I normally do, parked on the promenade in the disabled spaces. And when I got back to the car, I had a parking ticket. And when I spoke to the traffic warden who just put the ticket on the car, he advised me that the double time for parking in a disc zone for disabled people is only in the non-disabled parking spaces and not in the disabled space.
So that goes against what you'd initially been told?
That's correct, yes.
Did he say whether that was something that was a fairly new policy, or did he say that that's how it's always been?
I think as far as he was concerned, that is the ruling. We got home and we went onto the Isle of Man government website, that the guidance that was on there is exactly what I'd been advised, that it was double the time.
So do you think there's a misunderstanding, a lack of clarity between the traffic wardens, potentially, in terms of what the rule actually is?
I did email the parking fines office and they sent me the guidance that is issued with the disabled badges. And it does appear now as though there has been a change in the ruling, although it does say, on one sentence says, in disc parking zones, you must display a time clock. You're entitled to park double the length of the specified time. However, below it, it says, in designated disabled parking spaces, you're entitled to park for the specified time only.
So when you're then parking in a specific disabled space and wherever you're parking, is it specified anywhere there that it's what type of disabled space it is and whether you're entitled to double the time, or is that signage not anywhere?
There's never been any signage with regard to the double time. As I say, it was something I was told. I don't know how other people, whether it's reading the guidance that comes with the badge. But that is only issued with a new badge, which are every 3 years. So if the guidance has changed within that time, you're not to know until your badge is renewed.
So do you think it should be a case of, if you are a blue badge holder and the policy changes, you should be contacted to be made aware of that?
Quite possibly. I mean, when they decided that they were charging in the car parks for disabled, it was out there. It was really public that you're no longer able to park for free. I'll point out that if you park in the car park in a disabled space, you have to pay, but you get an extra hour. But you don't get that extra hour if you don't park in a disabled space, which is the opposite of what it is in a parking zone.
So essentially what it is if you park in a disabled bay, then you are having to be there for the allotted time. If you are a blue badge holder and you park in a non-specified disabled bay, you're then entitled to double the amount of time in that space if it's not designated.
That's what they're saying. So in effect, if you parked in the disabled spot, you get the 2 hours. If you parked in front, or a car in front of you is a disabled badge parked there, they get double the time in the space of one car. It just doesn't seem logical to me. There are some vehicles that disabled people use that can't use normal spaces. Disabled spaces are most of the time longer and wider for people to be able to open the doors to get out easier. People that need to get their wheelchairs out of the car, drivers who need to get their wheelchairs out of the car and transfer. People who can't get out of their wheelchairs, who might be in a minivan or a bigger vehicle that needs to put a ramp out the back to get out, they can't park in a normal space, but they're getting penalised. They can only have 2 hours where other people can have the 4 hours.
So what would you like to see happen?
Well, I'd like to see the extra time belonging to the disabled badge, or to the disabled person who's got the badge, not belonging to the parking spaces. It just doesn't seem fair that there's this difference.
We've spoken to the Department of Infrastructure about its policy. It's told us 1 hour extra parking time is allowed in addition to the time shown on the purchase pay and display parking ticket, that in disc zones, blue badge holders are entitled to park double the length of the specified time when parked in a non-designated disabled bay, and in designated disabled parking spaces, they're entitled to park for the specified time only. It says the rationale behind the policy is that the designated disabled parking places are generally located closer to businesses and shops, primarily to benefit those who may struggle with mobility issues. Parking in accordance with the signed time restrictions in these bays leads to increased turnover of vehicles, which helps to free up the spaces for other users who really need them. Should a blue badge holder use a general disc parking bay, as they are perhaps in a position to be able to park further away, they're permitted double the advertised time on the sign. For example, 2 hours means they may wait for 4 hours. That then allows more time for them due to the additional distance involved.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Little Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.